Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the American Sports Connection. My name is Mike. I am your host. We're going to sit here and talk today about the NBA playoffs and have a little preview of the matchups. I got my buddy BD here with me. How's it going, BD?
What's going on, people? What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I can't call it. Can't complain. Nobody listens.
Ain't that the truth? All right, well, to some people, it's like Christmas today with all these playoff matchups.
Oh, yeah. Jingle bells, man. Basketball's everywhere.
Hell yeah, we got a full slate today. We're going to go over all the matchups in the East and the West, see how we think things are going to shake out, and possible second-round matchups. So we're going to get started. First off, right off the bat, we have the Cavs going up against the Pistons. This should be very interesting.
You think so? Because I see total domination, man. I see King James making a statement. I think he's sick and tired of the press that your boy Steph Curry is, getting. And Detroit, I love their talented team. I love Jackson. And Drummond can't shoot free throws, but, what big man can't, or can, should I say. I think Detroit is on their way. Stan Van Gundy is doing a hell of a job building the team. I don't like a head coach having two hats, a vice president or manager, whatever, general manager. But this series is going to be a complete annihilation. I mean, do you think Detroit can win a game?
I think it's possible. I like Drummond. He's a double-double guy, but like you said, the free throw percentage kills you. I like the guy, Pope. Kentavious Pope, or however you pronounce his name. I like him.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're young. I think they could win a game, but for the most part, they're still wet behind the ears, and this is all new to them. So
yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of whining and crying and weird face expressions on the sideline from Van Gundy, because you know how Van Gundys are bitches. But LeBron is going to be on a mission. I think LeBron James is going to take this playoff run serious, because they're going to try to preserve themselves with a potential, finals matchup.
Yeah, I can go with that. All right. Next, we have, this is actually our first game at 12:30 Eastern, the Raptors and the Pacers.
I think this game is going to be pretty damn competitive. Not so much as far as a classic 7-game knockdown dragout, but I believe that Paul George is back somewhat fully, relatively healthy. The rotation with Indiana is a who's who as far as I'm concerned. I think that this gives a chance for the world now. No disrespect, Canada. Don't shoot me. I'm not biased to you guys. But, you haven't been relevant, let's be honest, since Vince Carter, okay? But this is a good basketball team. They're not number 2 for no reason. They could even overtook Cleveland for the number 1 seed. I love DeRozan. Lowry's doing his thing. I just think I think they're just going to be able to showcase what they really are about.
It's interesting because you mentioned Lowry and DeRozan, and no disrespect to Raptors fans, I don't really know who else is on this team after those two guys. It's like a hodgepodge of...
You got Carroll and I can't even call. That's a damn shame. I can't even call the.
And they're the number 2 seed in the East, and we know 2 players.
Oh man, but that's just because the NBA doesn't market them as much. It might not be them so much. I don't know if it's any bias toward Canada. It's not that. It's we just had the All-Star game there, so come on, Canada, don't be that mad at us.
I was gonna say, because it's just. They don't really get a lot of high market games like on TNT or ESPN, so you're not really familiar with them because you're not seeing them that often.
Now, this game is on ESPN, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so this gives the world a chance, whoever's up earlier this Saturday afternoon, to really, they'd be able to display themselves. And, their biggest cheerleader anyway is their boy Drake, so,
Yeah, Drake. Right? Drake loves his Raptors, man. All right, moving on. this is another series I think that is going to be very fun. Is the Miami Heat against the Charlotte Hornets?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I agree with you. Two evenly matched teams, and people would be kind of shocked when I say that, but Charlotte's no joke. I think Jeremy Lin, of all people, has coming into his own. Kemba Walker is another guy that's been kind of under the radar. And Al Jefferson slowly but surely has worked himself back in. I think Jordan, clap to him, finally has established the foundation. Love you, Mike. You're still the greatest. But he's finally got that team playing good basketball. And they've kind of flown under the radar a little bit, being the 6th seed. But I just feel like the veteran-savvy Heat, it's going to be interesting to see Dwayne Wade, how his health continues to progress during the series. Joe Johnson addition, how that will help the Heat. But Hassan Whiteside, boy, I think he's an anchor. I think he's going to be a problem for Charlotte. It's going to be a real fun series. I think it'll be real competitive.
I was going to say the other thing I want to see is Nicholas Batum, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is out of Portland now, and he's going to be in the playoffs, and he's going to have to carry the load where he's going to be the guy. And because usually Portland has kind of fallen short in the playoffs in recent years. Mm-hmm. They have him, and then they have, I believe Cody Zeller is still starting for them, and Al Jefferson's coming off the bench. So that's you mentioned Hassan Whiteside, that's going to be a heck of a load to try to take care of down low for a young player like that. But I really like Charlotte's team. They're young, and they finally figured out how to build the right pieces. Like last year, I believe they were an 8 seed against LeBron.
Yeah, they were.
And so they're not rookies when it comes to being in the playoffs now. Like they got a little taste last year, but the Heat are much more battle tested with Wade and Deng and. I think Haslam is still...
Haslam be back. I think the only issue we've had with them, is the fact that Chris Bosh, the loss of Chris Bosh, as far as him being the other X factor, that would really have helped them going forward, potentially with a matchup with Cleveland. But I just think the savviness of Gordon Dragic, we can bring him up, the toothless wonder, him getting his tooth knocked out the other night. He's a tough customer, though. He battled injuries. I think that him and Lynn is going to be very exciting for that point guard matchup.
Yeah, because they're very quick, deceptively quick for point guards, and this is his second run in the playoffs with the Heat, because last year was where he kind of got just thrown into it because he was traded at the deadline from Phoenix.
He didn't get himself incorporated with the team enough, and plus they were struggling and they didn't even make the playoffs, so they had it was a transition year for the Heat. But this year he's been pretty solid though.
Right, I agree with that. Moving on, we have the 4-5 matchup, which I think is a fantastic matchup, is the Atlanta Hawks and the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, when I look at this matchup, it's like two teams that are pretty solid teams. I mean, the Celtics, man, it's so many unsung heroes with them. Isaiah Thomas and his ability to to score and play defense. I mean, my God, he's making LeBron James blocks. You know what I mean? And also going with him, you've got the likes of Evan Turner coming off of the bench, and then as far as with Atlanta, they've always been flying under the radar. I really still believe they need a superstar type of player to take the next step. But for some reason, they find a way. I'm not going to disrespect the rest of their team. Millsap's a hell of a player. Horford, he's a solid, guy in the middle. But I still feel they need a superstar. But this series is going to be very intriguing going forward.
I am amazed at Brad Stevens, how he's been able to put together like this hodgepodge of, I don't want to call them no names, but there's no legitimate superstar talent. They have Sullinger and Mark and Smart and Isaiah Thomas you had mentioned. And for them, they were as high as the 3 seed up until the last day of the season where they lost to the Heat. So I really have to give him credit. I forgot they have Olenek too from Gonzaga.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they got a bunch of young guys.
I really have to give credit to them.
They're a team of, just solid, gritty type of, young players.
That's why I like this matchup, because the Hawks are very similar.
Yeah.
Where they don't have a true superstar. I mean, maybe Al Horford, but other than that, they just have like a hodgepodge.
I mean, I shouldn't have. Oh, forgive me. I left out Jeff Teague. He's a pretty solid point guard. And I'm not going to mention Pretty Boy Korver, but...
Well, and then the other issue they had was they traded for Tiago Splitter, and he's been hurt all season.
Yeah, that's Skip Bayless' MVP.
Yeah. Tiago Splitter.
Stephen A's worst nightmare.
Interesting thing about both of these teams, they're both very deep. And the Hawks, they won, I think, 12 less games this year than last year. But the second half of the season, they really came on strong and I believe have the best defense in the NBA over the second half of the season. They also have really great ball movement on offense. But I think this is a great matchup. When you look at that ball movement, the way they spread that ball around against that aggressive perimeter defense of Boston, I think it's a really fun matchup to watch. I mean, is that aggressive Boston defense going to get turnovers, or are they going to get a little overexcited trying to help, and are they going to get maybe burned by Kyle Korver, who could end up being very big in this series?
I agree, and we have a straggler coming in here for anyone that's wondering. That's my buddy Adam speaking as well, so you got double your pleasure today.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. There are several Korean airline stewardesses in my basement who had to be fed and watered, so
the atom bomb has arrived.
Yes. Mushroom cloud and all.
All right. Well, we're done with the East, so we're going to move to the West, ironically enough. We're going to talk about Adam's Warriors against the Houston Rockets here.
Oh, yes. Well, I'll get my Warriors rant out of the way. Yes, I'm a homer, but listen, I mean, I'll give Houston a little affection here. Harden is the Kia's Player of the Month, whatever that means. I mean, he may average 35 a game in this series, and Houston might steal a game. But this is an impossible track meet, especially if Golden State even reaches towards the kind of defense that they played last year in the playoffs. Dwight Howard's going to commit stupid offensive fouls. He's not going to be a factor. He's going to elbow guys in the jaw and look at the referee like he's crazy. Beverly's a pit bull. He can hit some big threes. But this is, this is very simple series to predict for me. There's not a lot to talk about here.
I mean, really. Do you really want me to get into this series?
Where's Utah?
This is, without question, a done deal. I've never seen a matchup. I mean, it's going to be fun from an entertainment point of view because both teams are number 1 and 2, I believe, in three-point shooting. If you like that type of ball, but you have a sniper and Steph Curry. I don't have any more words. I don't know if he's from this earth. It's Houston doesn't have a chance on the perimeter. James Harden can score all he wants to score. I think Steve Kerr will neutralize everybody else and allow James Harden to get his. Dwight Howard's not an inside threat whatsoever. They're going to run them out the building. This is going to be an annihilation. It's going to be a complete sweep. So I don't know if there's any Houston Rocket fans. I don't give a damn because I don't care about the Rockets because this is going to be an absolute just destruction for the Golden State Warriors. I have nothing else to say. You go ahead, brother.
I was going to say the only thing that intrigues me is that the Warriors finally got 73, that monkey off their back, where everybody's been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And now it's like, it almost feels like they can take a breath, where it's like, all right, we got it. Now we can refocus and do what, our original plan was to do, and that's to go back to back. So it's like, if you're going to catch a Warriors team that is super focused, you said it best, annihilation. Because, my God, Steph Curry, the shots he can hit. The one that was called, that he missed in the Spurs game the other night was like the three-fourths court one that he made, but he missed it by half a second. Yeah. It's just like he's playing horse out there, a lot of times.
He shoots 40% from 40 feet and beyond. Think about that for a second. The rest of the league is at like 7%.
That's frightening.
And it took a couple misses in that last Memphis game from way downtown. He was actually, I think, over 50% going into that game.
I think he's 45% for the season with from 3 point
something
range.
that he works on, and I'll just say real quickly because there's not a lot to hyperanalyze in this game. But Golden State, I think this whole thing with them just being a 3 shooting team is really, they are a great passing team. I posted a highlight reel on Facebook, lasted about 5.5 minutes long. Just great passing, great assists. Yes, they get out rebounded from time to time, but hey, guess what? When you're shooting 60% from the field, you've got a lot of opportunities for rebounds. So, you can't fill a stat sheet with everything, but I think that getting the 73 wins and, overcoming that little blip in the radar screen where, San Antonio beat them, then they bounced back and smacked down San Antonio twice in 1 week. I just think that they are back in the zone that they would want to be. I think they're in a great position now mentally, as well as physically with Iguodala getting the rest. That's a great position to make a run now.
And they're mentally tough now. They've learned how to win. Like, they went through the process. They came in as defending champions with a chip on their shoulder because everybody said they got this break and that break. That point guard was hurt. San Antonio got put out by the Clippers, and then the Clippers got, upset by the Rockets. And LeBron didn't have, his 2 stars, Irving and Love with him. They're on a mission. They're on a history. They're on a quest. They know they have to win a championship after winning 73. And this is just a speed bump, a fly on the screen that they're about to squash, and that's the Houston Rockets. So they can get ready early for their summer vacation.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. We have Adam's least favorite team, the Spurs, versus the Grizzlies.
Well, I'll try to keep this PG-13. Look, I don't like the Spurs, but they're the best defensive team in basketball, and they have probably the most, if you want to call defense exciting, one of the more exciting defensive perimeter players, Kawhi Leonard. He's the kind of guy, he can come out on you. If you take it inside on him, he can hang with you. He's almost like a Deion Sanders on the court where you just stay away from his side. They don't even want to dump it into his side defensively. It's almost like playing 5-on-4. So the Spurs, I think they're right where they always want to be, just a little under the radar with their 65 or so wins. And everybody else was talking about Golden State breaking their record. A couple of years ago, this was a really exciting series. Memphis would give them trouble with their 2 twin towers, but lately, especially after San Antonio swept them a few years ago, and Memphis is just in a tailspin. I mean, I think they were lost 11 of their last 12 going into the playoffs. So I don't see this series being as dangerous for the Spurs as it might have been 3 years ago. I think it's going to be a pretty easy walk for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, Memphis is just decimated with injuries. Mike Conley out. I believe Tony Allen has been injured. Vince Carter is a senior citizen. You got Gasol out for the year. They have no interior pressure. This is a San Antonio Spurs team that, without Golden State, if it wasn't for Golden State having this sensational season, they would be talked about. They would have been celebrated this season, but they don't care about that. Popovich has got them right where he wants them. Their rotation is phenomenal. I think the likes of Patty Mills and Parker should be fine for this series. Kawhi Leonard, like Adam said, is just Darrelle Revis, Deion Sanders. You stay away from that guy. It's not really much. I don't know the significance of LaMarcus Aldridge's finger injury that he suffered, I believe, against Golden State. It won't really matter in this series. I think Memphis might get one, maybe one, but it might be another sweep because I just don't see it. They're a gritty team, though. I give them that. They will fight, but they might get one game if San Antonio sleepwalks, and it would have to probably be in Memphis.
I was going to say the other thing is to Zach Randolph. He's been banged up as well, because I'd say a week or two ago he missed a couple games. So I'm assuming he's healthy now, but he had issues. Gasol is obviously out. Conley's obviously out. The main problem, but I agree with Adam, they had a great series 3 years ago, but Memphis's issue has always been perimeter shooting. They cannot hit big shots to save their life.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they would have Tony Allen more so as like the gritty, defensive guy as opposed to putting up, 10 and 5 or whatever. The other thing with the Spurs, their bench is deep with Patty Mills and Manu and the other big guy, Boban Marjanovic, that huge center they have.
David West giving up millions, sacrifices.
Yeah, David West too, who I'm a big fan of from Xavier. They are just really loaded. So I tend to agree with both of my counterparts here. I don't think it'll be much of a series. Maybe the Grizzlies get one, but I will say this: they won't just quit. They will fight them the entire way. But it's just they just don't have the horses.
Yeah, you respect that. If this was the NFL, but this is basketball.
Memphis would have been a great team, probably like in the early '90s or late '80s.
Oh, yeah.
They had the two big guys, and they had the perimeter guys that come out and slap you around while you're trying to handle the ball. But they're just not. They've never grown into that mold of what a 2015 team needs to be to win in the league. And that last coach that they let go of, I really thought that was kind of a mistake. Who was that? Hollins. I thought he did a great job, but I don't think it was the coach at all. I thought it was the personnel.
He was coach of the year when they got rid of him.
Yeah, they don't have the kind of scoring system that a team needs. And let's face it, we saw this in the NCAA tournament too. Big guys. The value of big guys is on the decline, kind of like the running back in the NFL. It's like kind of stick a big slob in there and let him wave his hands around. It's not. But Memphis reminds me of a team that would have done really great in a bygone era.
They would have been in the '90s. They're the mold of New York Knicks
the
in
Western
the '90s.
Knicks, yeah.
Pacers. Those
Pistons.
type of.
That's what I was going to say. They remind me a lot of the bad boys.
Yes,
they get down and dirty with you. Sorry, wrong era, Memphis.
Nah, it's all good. Moving right along, we have the Thunder against Dallas.
Well, my first question that comes to my mind with this series is, what are they going to do with who's going to handle Westbrook? It's not going to be Pareja. Sorry. It probably is going to fall upon Wes Matthews to try and control Westbrook. I like the way he's played. Certainly, grown into that point guard role. But I just don't think that anybody in the Dallas front court is equipped to handle what the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to do. On the outside there. I keep scrambling to try to find a way that Dallas can match up with them defensively. And I know, Carlisle is going to do a good job of moving guys around, switching guys around. But in the end, there's just too many. If it was only Westbrook or only Durant, you could say, okay, well, they could do this and they do that. But I just don't think Dallas is equipped. I think Carlisle will coach them to a 4-2 loss in the series. And I also think Oklahoma's very, actually one of the worst teams in the league at holding a fourth quarter lead behind the Sixers. Bad company to be in. So on the strength of that, I will say that this will be a 4-2 series, Sandman.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Adam. I think, first of all, I have tremendous respect for Rick Carlisle. He's very underrated as one of the elite coaches in the NBA. Dallas, they're going to fight. They're going to compete. Dirk's not Dirk. Obviously, we know he's not going to play. I don't believe he's going to play 30, 35-plus minutes, 40 maybe. I don't know, depending on how the rotation goes. Darren Williams is, I don't know if I trust him in a 7-game series. But this is going to be annihilation again. I got to say this because Adam didn't even mention Kevin Durant. I mean, this guy is probably going to end up averaging 30 points per, okay? Westbrook is a triple-double when he gets out of the bed, when he brushes his teeth, when he, gets a shower, whatever. This is going to be – they don't have the athleticism on the perimeter. I think that it's a sad damn truth that what Adam did say. They were number 2, giving up fourth quarter leads behind the Sixers, who were one of the worst team in the league, by the way. I think Oklahoma City with Billy Donovan, they don't play the same level of defense they did under Scott Brooks. But I believe that Serge Ibaka will insert himself defensively. I think Ener Kanter, man, he's been playing some pretty good basketball as of late. And I watched the Thunder, even though it was a meaningless game for San Antonio, their bench played well. They got some snipers out there. Waiters was doing his thing a little bit. It's a point of if they get confidence enough. They need to use this series to get confidence because next, whoever they run into, I believe it would be who would they run into next series?
The Spurs.
Would it be the Spurs? Yeah, they're going to need to get prepared for to prep themselves to get ready to play a classic second round. But Dallas just doesn't have enough for me, Butler.
I agree. The other thing that I scratch my head about with Dallas, looking back now, is the signing of Chandler Parsons. He's been hurt 2 years back-to-back, not being able to play in the playoffs for them. That's looking like it's a big mistake. I mean, I can't even tell you who's playing center, the starting center of Dallas. So...
I don't think any of us can.
As I scratch my head,
shame,
I scratch my head to try to remember who Dallas's centers
because
are.
they release they clean house every off season. We can't keep up with them.
They really do.
Very
It's
true.
like Dirk and everybody else. Who have they developed really in Dallas lately?
Remember they had Monta Ellis
Yeah.
a couple years ago. Then now they got Darren Williams. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's broke down.
There's no one. I agree with Adam. I'm a big fan of JJ Barea, but they've never.
Yeah, he's a little engine that could, man.
They've never really gotten someone that could. I don't want to say replace Dirk, but basically be the guy after him.
Hey, I'll say this. Players always seem to want to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, and no matter how much they do clean house, they always seem to come back with a passable team to put on the floor, which is pretty impressive. They don't really have a lot of those rebuilding years.
No.
But, no, I think the search for Dirk's replacement is still on, and until that really happens, I think that Dallas is a little bit stuck between two eras in the franchise. They're going to have to move on and acquire someone who can become the next go-to guy, the next 35.
Yeah, the next
guy.
face of the franchise.
And I like that. But the one X factor we haven't mentioned is Mark Cuban. He's the reason why people want to come there. No state taxes.
Yeah, there you go.
Things of that nature factor in as far as that's concerned.
But the Thunder are just too deep with Durant and Westbrook.
It's greatness. It's greatness versus a future older Hall of Famer. And he doesn't have any parts that can compete against that.
Yeah, because he's like 35 now?
37.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now we talk about how these playoff matchups. This is a perfect example, really, the Thunder of how you win in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of analysis that goes on, and that's all very interesting. But the bottom line is stars win series. Stars win championships in the NBA. This is not like the NHL, the teams that, always seems to be the teams with the best 2 or 3 top guys that get to the top.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely agree. All right, now our final matchup, which I think will be very fun, is the 4-5 in the West, which is the Clippers and Portland.
I think it's going to be a phenomenal point guard matchup. You look at the young stud, the leader of the new era, my guy. I'm going to gloat about him. I watched him in college, Damian Lillard, going against CP3. I love the fact of how Portland, who I thought was going to be in a transition year, losing LaMarcus Aldridge, they turned it around. C.J. McCollum, I believe, most improved this season, I believe. Portland has a young nucleus there. I think they're establishing something, but for them to be this high of a seed in the Western Conference is a tribute to the foundation what they've built. But I just think this is going to be another series of inexperienced versus hungry, savage veterans. And I think the coaching of Doc Rivers, I think the leadership of CP3, I think the reemergence of Blake Griffin is going to be a factor. It's going to be interesting to see how he is in a 7-game series. I think he should be fine. We know what DeAndre Jordan can do. As long as we keep him away from the free throw line in the fourth quarter, they should be just fine. But it is what it is. Redick's going to do his thing. I think the sixth man of the year, Jamal Crawford, at his advanced age, still doing his thing. You're also looking at a situation of redemption for the Clippers. I think this gives them a tremendous opportunity to do something going into the next round against, it would be Golden State. And we finally can get that rivalry that we've been wanting and that intense battle. And it'll be really fun to see that. And you add old man Paul Pierce to it. I think it'll be phenomenal. The truth for the senior citizen house. But you go ahead, Adam Bomb. You take it away.
Well, the Clippers, another example of a team that's going to win their first round series, I think, because of quality depth, consistent perimeter shooting, and this might actually be a series where inside play does play a factor because both teams kind of hot and cold shooting the ball, but when that happens, Jordan and Griffin are a better option to grab those missed shots than anybody really on the Trailblazers roster. So I like the depth and experience. If the Clippers don't have a chip on their shoulder by now, they're never going to have one. I mean, they've had a demented owner and all kinds of internal problems and the issues with Griffin and Paul getting frustrated. I mean, this would be a great year when there's probably 5 or 6 other teams in the league that are being talked about way more than them, for them to kind of just bear down and make some progress. I don't think they're good enough to go to the finals, but I think that they're good enough to definitely establish some building blocks. But their depth and their superior shooting, it would just kind of go around the clock. Section by section. Clippers roster is just that much better than the Trailblazers. I think that's why they're going to win the series in 6.
I agree with everything you both said. The only issue I have is with the Clippers is, are they finally going to get over that hump? Like where they had such a devastating collapse last year against the Rockets. And let's just say, for instance, Lillard goes off for 50 in game 1 and they win game 1. Mm-hmm. Are they going to get, have that mental block where, oh no, here we go again? Are they going to be able to kind of fight through it, and figure a way out? Because when you look at both of these teams on paper, by far the Clippers have the superior talent. Mm-hmm. Even depth-wise as well, you would think with Paul Pierce being the grizzled veteran that he is, he should be able to kind of help them, put them over the hump. But who's to say with the Blazers, like you said, with their inside game, it's kind of hit and miss. I like Plumlee, but that's the only one I'm really familiar with. The other guy, Alfred or however you say his name, really long last name.
Miles Leonard.
Yeah, he's they have decent guys. There's nothing. I hate to use this word, but exciting or anything that jumps out at you.
They're going to be around for some years to come. They're just status, and they're going to be when the other older teams, finally, break up. They'll be that new foundation of the Western Conference. But at the end of the day, it's not even about this series. They have this series. Mm-hmm. It's about the next series. And the rivalry with the Warriors and the legacy of Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. We're talking about one of the greatest players, in my opinion, that has never reached a conference finals. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
And what's amazing to me is he started out so white hot last year in that first round against the Spurs, basically willed them to win that series.
Classic game.
And then they just kind of shit the bed in the second round. Yep. They really did because they were one win away.
You're up 3-1.
Yeah.
Again, that's mind-boggling. That's like Houston Oilers, Buffalo Bills. Playoff game. That is atrocious to blow something like that.
It really does make you wonder. That series really does make you wonder if they don't have a confidence problem or what an analyst might call a fear of success syndrome. Where they just get there and then they feel that they're not ready. It's really maybe a little bit more interesting of a matchup than we're giving it credit for because of that. Because you think about the Trailblazers, whether they win a series or not, they've won this season. They've accomplished something this season. They can go in there with both guns out of the holster.
They're playing with house money.
There's going to be hot brass all over the floor. They're just going to empty all chambers and they're going to go at them and like you guys mentioned, if Portland steals a game or even were to go up 2-0 behind the Lillard's hot hand, or maybe go up 2-1 or something like that, maybe would the Clippers start to infight and take wild shots and have sloppy possessions and do all that stuff that sadly has become the earmarks of Clippers playoff basketball.
It's just amazing to me because they have such a great coach in Doc Rivers, but they've still fallen into those same kind of pitfalls.
And that's the guy that's going to take the heat because
it's a shame because he shouldn't.
Yeah, but it's on him. You're talking about a NBA champion. He's been a coach of the year. He's made 2 finals appearances, 1-1 championship. He was brought there. He has control. I believe he's the one. He's a general manager or whatever. He's player personnel. He constructed this team, so it's going to have to be on him.
Right.
And Steve Bowman, I believe, is the new owner. He assigned him with his position, so it's all on Doc. It's Doc. The pressure's on Doc. You talk about a group of veterans. It'd be amazing to see those guys fizzle and have a lack of concentration and have doubt in their mind. But you guys are right. They are playing a team that has house money, though. Damian Lillard's dangerous.
What I was going to say is with Rivers, he's won everywhere he's gone. He did it in Orlando, and then moved back up to Boston and win a championship. So it's just, unfortunately, like you said, if they fail, he's going down with the ship.
Yeah, Blake Griffin is the X factor to me for their success going forward. I believe this.
And if he's not going to be a nutcase where he, attacks this guy and gets suspended by the team, and if they can just stay focused on what they have to do, they're a very dangerous team.
Doc Rivers is what the term I believe would be loyal to a fault. He's very loyal to players. I think I consider him what they call a player's coach. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the pieces that the Clippers have, that they brought Pearson, you have Crawford, Redick, and then of course you have the Trinity there. You have Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. Now these are a lot of pieces that could have been moved at some point to try and change the chemistry, change the dynamic of a team that seems to struggle with internal strife and with playoff basketball. But interestingly enough, all those guys are still there, and like you said, Doc does control personnel, so I'm a little concerned that he's a little bit too loyal to his players, and that they have had opportunity to make moves. And of course, the older these players get, their value drops, and you almost have to wonder if the window's closing on them to make some kind of a move.
And it's going to end up biting them in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
It is, because you got Jamal Crawford's been disgruntled. He doesn't like the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got your son in the rotation.
Yeah.
And then they made the move for Lance Stevenson, and I believe it was who else? Josh Smith. That
Yes.
backfired in their face.
They got rid of both of them.
And and then the only guy that I really like within their rotation they picked up was Jeff Green.
Yes,
I
I like
that
Jeff
was
Green.
a solid part.
Yep.
I think he makes, he changes the way they can match up. You can put him and Blake, on the court together and rest DeAndre in situations. But the Clippers I think, they're the team under more pressure in the Western Conference than even the Warriors. Go figure. Just think about that.
Yeah, but because it's almost, and Steven's gonna give me shit for this. It's Buffalo Bills syndrome.
Sure. Minnesota Vikings of the 70s. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Where they can get to a certain point and they're doing great, and then once they just get there, it's like,
Yeah, what happened?
And they seem content to continue to try the same recipe. I mean, you have all the same guys there. My question would be to Doc Rivers or to Bowman. What is your thought process here? Why are you under the impression that you're going to continue to dump 3 tablespoons of salt in this thing and it's not going to taste salty? I mean, what are you planning on doing here? I mean, Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan lead the planet in alley-oops. I mean, is that going to be the legacy of this team?
basically.
I mean, and a lot of these players, other than Chris Paul, who's a great scoring point guard, I think he's underappreciated as a point guard who can score.
The best leader in basketball.
Probably.
At the point guard position.
And I hear a lot about his personality and how snitty he is on the court. Just knock it off. All the great ones act like jerks. They all complain to the referees. They all get Michael Jordan gave Steve Kerr a black eye, for Christ's sake. That's a true story. I mean, but
you're not lying.
it's stop it with the I don't like Chris Paul's attitude. Like, come on, the guy stopped selling sunflower seeds for the school band, for God's sake.
You gotta have that dog in you, to be great.
You have to.
Russell Westbrook is like that. Westbrook goes at you hard.
And him and Durant have gotten into it.
Yes.
What do you think about that, going against maybe the next face of the league? And Westbrook, for all his flaws and everything, he's not afraid to go at it. And like professionals, they go at it. And they hash it out, and they duke it out, and then they get over it, and they go out and they play basketball. That's what you do.
You know what? The Clippers, they have no excuse. To end my final statement on it, they have no excuse whatsoever. The Lakers have been an abomination for the past X amount of seasons since Kobe had the ACL injury and Dwight left town. I mean, they've had the LA in their hand. They've had the free agents. They've had the big marquee coach. What else do you need? You got rid of your just despicable owner. What else do you need? It's on you.
And it's like, do we need to hand it to you?
Yeah, I don't know.
It really is an enigma. The Clippers have become an enigma. What are they doing, and where are they going? Nobody seems to know.
I was going to bring this up now after we're done with this, because me and BD had talked about this before you had come. Last night was the process of finding out draft slotting that put you to sleep.
Oh. I have never seen a horrific sight of the NBA. It's the lottery, the ping pong situation, the guy with the suitcase taking each team logo out, and Kiki Vanderway after they the ball pops up and Kiki grabs it. Oh, the Detroit Pistons. Then they sit there and they're slow, and it's like watching paint dry. It's like my God, it's like a crucifixion, man. I don't have words for it. It's
and
horrible.
it's funny because we'll watch it because there's really nothing else out there right now.
I watched it because I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan,
Sure.
and I wanted to see where we were going to land, and it took them all the way about 15 minutes in the process just to get me to where I needed to be. And by then, I was on life support by the time we were done.
Well, it makes me laugh how they bring out this fucking briefcase like it's a bomb or something, and they're like,
This is Secret Service stuff.
Yeah.
Ping pong.
Like the Oscar results all over again. Like this guy's a cyborg or something.
God.
Well, what's interesting though that happened was the Kings, where they were slotted, they might actually have to surrender their pick to the Sixers this year.
Now, how's that scenario go?
The way I tried to read up on this so I understood it. The way I understood it is if it's a top 10 pick, the Sixers can flip it. Mm-hmm. If it's not, it goes to the Bulls.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. But what also happened last night was the Sixers, they drew ping pongs for like the Thunder and the Heat and those types of teams, like for tiebreakers, and I think it was
Not the Thunder. Thunder weren't in there.
Or I'm sorry, where they slotted them wherever. But anyway,
well, I had brain damage, so I suffered.
Yeah.
It, so
I was just reading this as being a Sixers fan because the Heat have the 22nd or 24th pick, something like that.
Yeah, they were in there,
and that's the Sixers pick from from one of their trades they made. And then they get the Thunder's pick, which is 2 picks later, which is 24 or 26, whichever it is.
I'm going to put Adam Baum. I want to know his true feelings and his opinion on if the Sixers get these picks. What do you feel, Adam, that this organization is going to do in helping them rebuild this atrocity of an organization
We're gonna be here
that
a while.
we call the Philadelphia 76ers?
What do I feel, sir? I'll tell you what I feel. Nothing! I feel nothing! They should, I tell you, if this Commissioner Silver, whatever this bald guy's name, if he had any moral turpitude, he would dismantle the franchise and spread those players around the D League and on people's benches where they belong. This is a practical joke. Is this team real? The guy gets a 2-year extension, and he's got 9 wins going into the last weekend. What are you excited about as a Sixers fan? Well, I just want to see if they get to double-digit wins. Oh, my gosh, they're playing the Nets Thursday night. Yeah, I mean, dear God, this is abysmal. I am so sick and tired, thank you for asking, of hearing how many picks the Sixers are getting and when they're getting them. I don't give a damn if the Sixers are getting the first 20 picks in the draft. Do something with them, you scrubs. Pick players.
Amen.
This franchise has cancer. Guys don't rehab right. There's this guy Noel. He hurts his legs or something. Then he's gone for 2 years and he's 50 pounds overweight, and they're saying, oh, he doesn't want to rehab. What do you mean he doesn't want to rehab? Take control of your team. This other guy's out getting a kid from Duke. He's getting in fist fights in the club, and this is ridiculous. Ish Smith. I watched a little bit of Sixers because I have this morbid curiosity about car accidents and train wrecks and stuff. And they play hard. They really do. But I don't want to hear that either. I don't want to hear about how hard they play. You won, 12, 11? It was 11? You won very few games.
10?
10.
Yeah.
Oh,
You won 10 games.
10? Is that really what happened here? Wow.
That's like 2 seasons
They
out of 3.
basically won one more than the record of the Sixers years ago.
Oh, so
The worst team in history.
They hold the original.
Yes.
Yes.
So
They almost tied
So
it.
we just.
So, hey, maybe we can beat that record.
Hey, wait a minute. We just watched history 73-9, and we watched the team go 10-72. Holy crap.
The organization, and I want to see more local sportscasters talk more about the dysfunction. Now Colangelo's son has taken
you did tell
over,
me that, bro.
and I respect that family.
Jerry stepped down.
Right. He stepped down. The son seems energized about it, but
I like him as what he had done in previous places, like in Phoenix originally, and then he moved to Toronto and has kind of set them up where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I will say this: I trust him more with later picks in the first round, like the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can find talent. I'll give him that.
You know what was unique? I went back and researched the Warriors and how their general manager said they're light years ahead of the curve, which they are. Steph Curry was a 7th overall pick.
Yes.
Klay Thompson, I believe, was a 11th.
Yes.
And Draymond Green was a 2nd round, 35th pick.
Yes.
yep. Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, in that same 2012 draft, I believe Harrison Barnes went ahead of him in the first round.
Yes.
Yep.
And he's a better player than Harrison Barnes.
That's right.
And so it's just unique how you don't have to have the top. It's how you evaluate the draft, how you have to have a structured system.
Yeah.
You have to have a foundation, a plan. What are we doing? That's my biggest issue with the Sixers. And I feel bad for the city of Philadelphia. I feel bad for you, Butler. I feel bad for all the hardcore fans.
Not me.
I
I'm
feel
done.
bad.
No more sympathy.
I mean,
no.
my Lord, I ain't going to be ignorant, but Ed Snyder even couldn't take any more of this atrocity. And he said, you know what, Lord, take me home, man.
I've seen everything.
This is ridiculous.
Well,
I mean, Butler, there's no words to say. How do we validate a Okay, Okafor doesn't want to be there. I believe.
I think he's going to get moved in the offseason.
Okay.
The very fact that there was heavy rumor mongering that he was going to get moved.
Well, remember-
the very fact alone, there should have been no word on the street that
In
he
his
was going
rookie year.
anywhere.
Well, remember,
year.
me and you had talked about this around after the trade deadline passed, that he was almost moved to the Celtics for a bunch of their picks they got from the Nets.
Right.
Now, what does that say about the ownership of
Yeah,
the Sixers?
it's a mess.
Like, what are these guys doing?
It's Josh Harris. You saw him. He was up there when they introduced Colangelo's kid. And they own the Sixers and they own the New Jersey Devils of the NHL franchise.
Okay.
And they're both in the toilet.
Why is Mike D'Antoni there? What does he do?
It almost feels like they're going to cut off the head, so to speak, Brett Brown, and make him run D'Antoni's system, which would make me cringe.
Mike D'Antoni is in the Philadelphia 76ers organization.
Yeah,
you don't see
he's
him
their assistant coach.
You don't see him smirking in the huddle like, I have a job. I mean,
The man with no defense?
Yes.
Oh, my Lord.
And I'll tell you something that's scary. I don't know how that would work out with Brown just getting the extension, but the Sixers do play like a Mike D'Antoni team right now. Even though they've got these two big behemoths that they just drafted, they play like a Mike D'Antoni team. They got a whole bunch of guys that shoot threes, defensive lapses, and when the Sixers stop shooting threes, that's when the other team outscores them abysmally.
I just watched the game with them the other night. I believe they played Toronto. They were up on Toronto, and defensive lapses cost them the game.
Did you see-
Covington had a good game that night. Ish was playing pretty decent.
I was going to tell
You
you,
know?
I only see, I'll be kind, 2 or 3 guys back from this entire roster.
Who are they?
Noel would be one. Covington would probably be the other.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like on the fence about Okafor coming back. Because him and Noel did not work together when they were on the court.
No, they didn't. And I like, see, you have an interesting, here's something interesting to talk about with the Sixers. You have one guy who plays really good defense, Noel, and got very quick hands for a big man. It almost reminds me of like, how Bogut, he can get a lot of steals with his hands and stuff. He's got very fast hands. His offense sucks. Then you have Okafor, who's got all these offensive moves, but he kind of shuts it down.
He's terrible.
He shuts it. Not only is he terrible, he doesn't look like he's working.
I told everybody.
He shuts it down.
I told everybody the debate that last year they had about, he's better than Karl-Anthony Towns. I said, you got to be kidding me.
Offensively, yes, but not the whole package.
Not even offensively. Have you watched Karl-Anthony Towns this year?
No.
He's been averaging a double-double.
Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. Go ahead. We're all just talking.
He's already grown. He's already shown the kind of growth that none of these guys that have put on a Sixers uniform has shown. I don't want to hear any excuses about Noel being down. His rehab was very slow, very poor. Whose responsibility is that?
Management.
What's the matter, Noel? You don't feel like rehabbing? Go home.
What about Joel Embiid? What are we doing there?
Everything I keep hearing is he could possibly play in the summer league, but everything else is he's good to go for Halloween next year.
Imagine
coming year.
They get the number 1 pick. Just hypothetically, I hope they do. Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. How do you think that works?
No, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work?
They need a lengthy, long arm, tall shooter. I think that Ingram is definitely the fit. Yeah.
And because he could create his own shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not a knock on Ben Simmons in any sense of the word.
With me, it is a little.
So
bit.
Simmons probably will be better in Hollywood and with the Lakers.
I believe, and I'm not trying to say the NBA will do something with collusion,
right?
But
a la '85 draft.
Yeah, with Ewing and LeBron, but anyway, I really believe they want the Lakers to get either the top pick or to make sure Ben Simmons goes there to make the Lakers relevant.
Well, if that happens, that's good for you guys because if Ingram is that guy, he has to be. If Brown's getting another chance, right? He's coming back.
2-year extension, right?
As far as I know.
Yeah,
they owe it to him. They gave up on him as a management. At least give him, another
chance
crack at
with
it,
the talent
to build a foundation. I know you A-bomb. You dropped a big. You dropped the A-bomb about effort. We all should get effort.
Sure.
But I'm saying they do play hard. I watched the Sixers. They play hard.
They do.
And no knock on these kids, but probably 75% of their roster should be in the D League, and that is not a knock on them.
And let me ask you this one tidbit, both of you guys. Where's the veteran leadership?
Exactly.
Where's the vets at? How can I learn how to be a professional if I don't have anybody?
Elton Brand,
who they could have just added to their massive list of coaches who hardly do anything. You need more. They're going to run out of metal chairs in that building. But look, you could bring him. But the roster is so bad. They signed a special contract with him. Don't worry, Elton. You're not going to
play.
You're not going to play more than 15 minutes a game. But they have to put him on the floor
because
the
of
roster's
injuries.
So bad and injuries.
He's been playing like 30 minutes a night.
Has he?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they must have.
Wow.
They were so like with Noel's injury and Okafor going down. They didn't have bigs.
Philadelphia does not deserve this. This is beyond bad. Is this the worst time period? One of the worst time periods in sports history, other than the Detroit Lions with the 0-16 season?
I would say.
Does it rank up there? Could we possibly say this right now?
I would say
Yeah.
the year after Barkley was traded until they got Iverson was pretty damn bad.
They never had the record that they have.
True.
now.
And you have to understand, this is 3 years running now.
Yeah.
Look at the team's record in the last 3 years.
That's true.
And Brett, I like Brown. He's very upbeat, very positive. The players seem to be excited. Most of them are playing with some enthusiasm. But when you don't win, I hate to sound like Herm Edwards, but you have to win some freaking games. You can't just get by on, hey, we feel good about what we're doing and we're analyzing who's going to be back. Nobody's going to be back if you keep playing like this.
See, I don't know how to feel about him because he's been given hardly anything to work with.
Exactly.
I understand that.
So I'm like, I feel for the guy in one sense, but I agree with you in another sense. You cannot win just 10 games in an entire season.
It's like going to work and doing what the hell you want to do and knowing you're like you're Teflon, you're untouchable. they go to the play. They'll put their little effort in. Then they're going to go cash their debt. The money's going to be in the bank. They're going to get paid. But the culture there, nobody's putting a foot in their ass. They're not afraid. They're
secure.
Yeah, they're secure. They don't. Hey, whatever.
I'm intrigued to see if they actually do move Okafor, where he would land.
Well, after the D'Angelo Russell debacle a few weeks back, they were discussing that.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
I heard that.
I heard
don't know how
that
true
too.
that was.
I don't know, but I think
Well, they need a point guard desperately.
that's very true. That's
Desperately.
So blame the Lakers for this atrocity, because had they just took Okafor number 2,
we would have had this problem.
D'Angelo would have ended up probably recording somebody on the Sixers, and it wouldn't have really mattered
And
anyway.
Nick Young could cheat on Iggy Azalea with impunity.
Oh man, I just think you talk about Ingram. I really like him as a fit for that team, and Saric is coming over this year now.
Yeah,
that
true.
should be interesting to see what he is.
What do you think about this kid from high school, this big 7-footer, Thon something? I forgot his last name.
I don't
Is he in
heard
the States?
He's eligible for the NBA draft now.
Really?
Yeah, I was just hearing it last night. I don't know the kid's last name, but he's a legit 7'1" kid that has outside range. He's a project.
Yeah.
But that's somebody that could maybe alter the draft a little bit. I'm not sure.
It's possible.
I would say his biggest impact probably be, you just probably hit it, how he will affect the draft order, if deals might happen because of that. I don't see him
I
as
know
an impact guy.
Adam really likes the center from Gonzaga and Utah.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are pretty interesting. I know that head-to-head, I think Gonzaga trashed them pretty badly. But,
Yes.
But the guy from Utah is actually the higher prospect.
Sabonis? Or is that the one from
That's
Gonzaga?
Gonzaga. The guy from Utah's got a little
Weird name.
Klump or something, I forget. but yeah, well, I looked at some mock drafts that had him as high as like 5, I think. And so yeah, he's interesting. I think there are some as of now that we've seen the tournament, I think you're starting to see some names float to the top.
If I remember correctly, the one mock I saw had New Orleans taking him.
We talked about that, how they might be going for the
Twin Towers.
Duncan Navy guy
Robinson
combination. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that could prove fascinating. Of course, New Orleans is
another mess in itself.
Yeah.
Would that work in the Western Conference? It seems like the game is changing to more perimeter.
I was going to
Like
say
you said earlier,
it's
Adam
more like the Warriors. You gotta play to
The
them.
big man is becoming extinct somewhat. Like
Yeah.
Draymond Green's been playing center majority a lot of times, and
That's what I think is intriguing. If the Clippers can survive and get to the second round, I think they could cause the Warriors problems rebounding wise, just because of Griffin and Jordan.
I mean, it's amazing. Oklahoma City out rebounded them 30 and still got beat. Like Golden State has figured out ways to beat you when they're not even at their best.
And when they are at their best, they
just
a good
annihilate
rebounding
you.
team, because Curry can rebound. Klay
Yeah.
Thompson, people forget Klay Thompson is 6'7".
Yeah.
He can rebound. It's a team rebounding effort. But you're right. The rebound stat is damn near irrelevant with them.
What I was going to say is, you talk about good drafting, how Golden State does, and kind of following your draft board. That kid they drafted last year at 30, McAdoo.
McAdoo, yeah.
He is a really good player.
I think he brings in an interesting set of skills to them. He's one of those big, bulky guys that you can plop the ball into, and he can finish from like 4 feet out.
Because remember,
Yeah.
he had played in the first Spurs game
Yes.
on that Saturday night game, and you were here and we were watching, and I was like, wow, I'm really
He's
impressed
an
with this
energy- He's
kid.
an energy kid. He comes in and changes the pace for him.
I think he had gotten...
That's from Festus being hurt,
Yes.
and that was a big pickup. He got more playing time from that.
I was going to say, I really liked him. I believe he had gotten injured. That's why he went so late.
That's right.
Because he was going to be like a top 15 pick. So it's like, oh well.
Sometimes you roll the dice, you win.
You got to do your homework and evaluate. That's
That's
what
right.
makes it so. It makes it so fun when you find a guy like where was Parker? Where did the
Second round.
Second round.
Yeah.
Like, you find guys like that, diamonds in the rough. And
I think Ginobili was second round as well.
yeah,
he was.
Ginobili was second round. It's amazing, man. It's amazing how some organizations do their homework, and they just have a blueprint and a foundation. Like, they just, while everybody else is hyped on the big name, they're looking at the guys that are going to fit their system.
Exactly.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here because it's 5 minutes past since the Raptors started, so we're going to go sit and watch some playoff basketball. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.